Welcome to Calico Cali Designs. Today's tutorial is how to stitch out our Creative Crosses embroidery designs. This collection can be found on our website, calicocali.com. There are 6 designs in this collection. We have Faith, Jesus Loves Me, Jesus, Our Savior, Amazing Grace, and one that is plain without any wording on it. The Creative Crosses can be finished off in a variety of different ways, including keychains, ornaments, bookmarks, magnets. You can stitch them out directly onto clothing, napkins for holidays, towels, etc. Let's head into the studio and I'll show you how these stitch out. As you can see by my display screen here, there are only a few colors to each design, so they're relatively fast to stitch out. The Creative Crosses all fit in a 5x7 hoop. So you're going to go ahead and hoop a piece of stabilizer. I'm using a medium weight cutaway. And then you're going to cut your first piece of fabric to fit right inside of there. We're going to kind of float this in here. I'm using a fake leather, it kind of almost looks like tablecloth material with that felt on the back. You could use any type of faux leather, vinyl, whatever you want for this base color here. If you're using a hoop that's bigger than a 5x7, do make sure to bring your design down a little bit so that there's room at the top of the design to cut out those tabs if you want to make it into an ornament or a keychain. It is not going to stitch out those tabs. You cut them in manually, which I will show you how to do at the end of the video. If you're using a 5x7 hoop and you just stitch it out nice and centered, it'll leave you plenty of room for those tabs. So the first thing we're going to do is stitch out the first color, which on my screen shows up as black. However, since I'm using this kind of brown tannish colored fake vinyl, fake leather, I'm going to use a gold thread. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out this first color here, and it's simply going to stitch out an outline of the cross. It is going to stitch that outline twice. The next color on my screen says pumpkin. I'm still going to continue with the same gold. You can change your color or thread, leave it, whatever you want, that's up to you. So the next one is going to stitch out another cross, smaller, right inside that one, and that's going to hold your next piece of fabric in place. I'm using this super fun cork fabric that has fun gold glitter in it. You just have to cut it out so that it's bigger than this cross. Lay it down and make sure it covers up that entire outline. If it goes like this, it's not going to stitch it properly. So covering it on up and stitching out the next one. And again, this is going to stitch around it 2 times. So here I've zoomed in a little bit so that you can see the stitches where it's stitched out 2 times. The final and last color is going to stitch the words on here unless you've chosen the design without words, in which case you're done and you can move on to the next step, which is finishing them. However, we are going to stitch out the words today, and they're going to stitch out right on top of this cork. So obviously I'm not going to use my gold thread because then I wouldn't be able to see the words. So we're going to pick a color thread that's going to stand out and really pop against that cork. I've chosen a really pretty purple to stitch out the words. So that is the last and final color. We're just going to let it stitch on out. Then we'll be ready to take out the hoop and finish it off. There you have it. The word faith has completely stitched out. So the next step will be just to remove this from the hoop, and then we'll go on over to the table and I'll show you how to finish it up. This stitched out really fast. I think this whole thing with all 3 colors took us like 5 minutes. I have removed this from the hoop, and there's just a couple of steps to finish it off. The first step is going to be to cut out the top layer of fabric, in my case the cork, really close all around those stitches, but obviously not cut the stitches. And again, I'm just going to cut the top layer, not the bottom layer. Here we go, cutting out just the top layer of the cork. So you can see the stitches below there, which is the ultimate goal, is that we're going to cut this away and still see that. So I kind of like to pause and look. I'm going to trim it once, and if I need to, I'll get a tiny bit closer. Here you can see I've cut away the excess cork, and now we can see the stitches on the bottom layer of fabric. This is exactly what we wanted. So next we can cut away our stabilizer from the back. And before we cut this, we need to decide, what are we going to do with this? If you're going to make it into a magnet or a bookmark, you could probably just trim right along here. A bookmark, you might want to leave a little at the top. It's up to you. If you're going to make this into a keychain, you definitely want to leave kind of like a tab there at the top. Same thing if you were making it into an ornament. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make this one into an ornament. So I'm going to trim right along here, all the way around. But when I get to the top, I'm literally going to cut it all the way off. So I have this giant piece here as a tab. I'm going to use my rotary cutter and a ruler for this point so I get good straight lines all the way around. This is what my cross looks like now that I have cut it. So now you decide even further what you want to do. If you're going to make this into a keychain, you could fold this over and attach your keychain of choice. I like this kind here where you just hammer it. So I would put it like that, hammer it, press it closed, cut off the extra. That is what I did with this one here. I actually didn't really have much of a tab on that one at all, so it's up to you. There's no right or wrong way. You could fold this over and put one of those little snapped grommet thingies on there, like I did with this one. And then in which case you would just slide the ring for the keychain through there. You can also obviously just cut it, use it as a bookmark, glue a magnet to the back, put it on the fridge. Now, as you can see, these ones have unfinished backs. So what I did for this guy here, since my plan is to make him to an ornament, I'm going to fold this down and I can slide my ribbon through here, okay? I could even cut this a little less wide maybe. And behind the scenes, I've done another one. So I'll just glue it to the back, lining them up all nice. And then this could be glued in between. Of course, I would trim it nice and put the ribbon through here so that it can dangle from my tree. Now, if you're worried about these edges, you could glue ribbon on them. Little pearls would be really pretty. You could even just take your Sharpie and color it in so it matches. So that's how I'm going to finish this one off. I also want to show you really quickly how these look if you stitch it out on a napkin. So let's do that next. Here's my completed ornament. I found some purple ribbon and I used tweezers to pull it through. I glued the back piece on, and then I didn't have a brown Sharpie, but I had a silver one, so I started to color that in and didn't finish, but that's okay. You could do a black, something else to make that side pop, or just leave it. I think when it's dangling from the tree, it'll be really pretty. Here's another alternative if you want to hide the backing. Here's one that I've stitched out before, and using my hot glue gun, I've just glued down a piece of, this is a knit, so that when I cut the whole thing out, this will have a beautiful backing to it. You could glue on another piece of vinyl, you could glue on felt, anything really that's not going to fray on the edges. And if you're gonna do that, I would recommend gluing it, like I said, now before you trim this out, so it trims both of them at the same time. I went off camera and trimmed this up, so now you can see this is the one where I had glued that knit fabric to the back of it. And that is what it looks like from the front. Yay! I would probably go through and take a Sharpie to all the white spots of black Sharpie so that it matches a little better and kind of blends in. But there you have it. Now on to the napkins as previously promised. Let's stitch out the napkin. I'm going to show you two different ways. So I have my 5x7 hoop, my stabilizer, and I've also hooped the napkin, making sure that all the extra is out of the way so I don't accidentally embroider on it. So I'm going to take the first two colors, which on my screen say black and pumpkin, and I'm going to use a pink color, and it's going to stitch out the crosses. I'm not going to put down any fabric on top like we did when we made the real crosses. So here we go for the first color. As you can see, I stitched out the first color in pink. The next one I did in a nice dark gold. And lastly, I'm going to stitch out the words, and I put in a purple thread this time. It's going to be really pretty when it's all done. So that's all I did, was basically just stitch it right on here without adding any additional layers of fabric like we had done previously. This cross is now completed. I cut away the stabilizer from the back, and as you can see, the 3 different colors. Another option you could do is keeping the 2 cross colors the same and just changing the word. You can do this in any type of combination that you would like. I want to show you another option if you're stitching this out on a napkin or even on a t-shirt or sweatshirt or any type of fabric, and that's going to be to kind of treat it like an applique design, but because this doesn't have actual applique stitches, you'll need to choose a fabric that won't fray, such as felt. So I've hooped my napkin, my stabilizer, and I'm just going to add the felt in here. And I'm going to stitch out the first color only on the felt. The first color has finished stitching out. So now we have a bunch of different options. We could stitch the second color right on top of this and have the 2 of the same and then stitch out the words, or we can, kind of like we did when we made the keychains, put another piece of fabric down, which is what I'm going to do, and stitch out the second color on top of this. And again, this is just another piece of felt because it's not going to fray when I cut it up. Finally, the third color. Now, because this is felt, before I stitch out the words, I do want to put a piece of water-soluble stabilizer on top. That way the stitches don't sink into this, into the felt. This is a used piece. Normally it's not so wrinkly, and you would just kind of pin it in place around the edges here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and let this stitch out. This is what it looks like, all stitched out. So now I will trim my jump stitches, remove this. I'm just going to rip it off, but if there's extra left, you can just wash it and it'll wash right away, and trim this on up, cut off my stabilizer. Here's what the cross looks like, all finished using the 2 different colors of felt. I was showing you that earlier. And then I also made one with just 1 color of felt, where I put the purple down, stitched out purple thread, then did the yellow cross, and then did the words. So as you can see, there's lots of options for stitching these guys out. Not only would this make a great napkin for your table, but it also works really cool in a bread basket. Imagine this on your table at Easter or Christmas or a baptism party. It would be just fantastic. Thank you for watching our tutorial on how to stitch out our creative crosses. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, like the video. Leave a comment below, let us know what you plan on stitching out. If you're watching this from the CD, thank you so much for purchasing these designs. We really appreciate it. Be sure to visit our website, www.calicocali.com, for more embroidery designs, SVG cuttable files, long arm quilting, notions, and a whole lot more. Lots of fun on our website. We'd also love to be your friend on social media. Please follow us. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and also Twitter. The links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube are in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. And if you've purchased the CD, all those links are available on our website, so you can follow us there. Again, thanks for watching, everyone. Till next time.